Hey, what's up people? Welcome back to Leonative. Today we're doing our first practical tutorial, how to install React Native using Expo, the easiest way to start building mobile apps. Let's go step by step and get your first project running. Before we start, you only need a few things. Node.js installed, a package manager, npm comes with Node or Yarn, a code editor like VS Code or Sublime Text, or another with AI incorporated, for example Gravity or Cursor, and for testing, Expo Go on your phone, your Android or iOS, or another way to run is in emulators. Okay, let's check that necessary tools are currently installed using the official commands. In this case, for Node.js, we use the command node. This command shows the installed version. In my case, it is version 22.14.0. Don't worry if your version is newer. The important thing is that your version first and Node.js is installed. Then we run the command npm b. In my case, the installed version is 10.9.2. And finally, open the code editor that you installed. Perfect. Now it's time to start creating our project. Go to the folder where you want to create a project. In my case, is cd leonative. Okay, perfect. Run the following command: npx create-expo-app at latest leonative-app template blank. Okay, enter. While the command is running, I want to explain line by line what this command does. npx. It is a tool and that comes with Node.js and allows you to run npm's package without installing it globally. Create-expo-app. It is an official Expo package that creates a basic React Native project using Expo. At latest, it means you want the latest stable version of the create-expo-app package. leonative-app. This is the name of the project and the folder that will be created. While naming your project, it is recommended to use dash and always avoid using space or underscores if possible. Template blank, minimal project without extra screens or pre-configured navigation. In other words, we want a clean project with only the essentials files. Perfect. Once that command finishes, you will see a message saying that your project is ready. And now you can open it in your code editor. Alright, now let's run our project. We're going to use a terminal. In my case, I'll use a terminal inside VS Code. One important thing, always make sure you are in the correct folder, the one where you create the React Native project. For example, in my case, I need to go into the folder leonative. Then I type this command: npx expo star. Enter. This command starts the project and shows us a menu with different options to open the app. Now, you will also see a QR code. This QR code is your physical phone. You can scan it with an Android or iOS device and you can see the app on your phone. You also have option to run the app on an emulator like Android or iOS. In my case, I'm going to use an Android emulator, so I press the A key. If you want to use an emulator, you need to install and configure a few things first. But don't worry, Expo has an official documentation that explains everything step by step for Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. I really recommend checking it, and if you have a Mac, there is also a guide for the iOS emulator. If you don't want to do all those steps, no problem, and just use your phone and scan the QR code. Okay, once the project is running, you will notice it looks empty. That is because we used template blank. With the blank template, Expo creates a clean project without extra screens or navigations. If we didn't use that template, Expo will create more files and some default codes like tabs, components, a bigger structure. But personally, I prefer start with a clean project and then we add what we need layer by layer. Now, let's quickly check the folder structure. Assets. Here we put image, icons, fonts, and other files. No modules. Here all the dependencies are installed. Package from npm or yarn. Git ignore. This file tells Git what to ignore, like no modules, temporary files, etc. App.js. This is the main component of the app. This is where we usually start. App.json, project setting like app name, icon, version, and expo configuration. Index.js, the entry point. It will start the app and loads app.js. Package.json, project info, scripts like start and dependencies. Package.log.json, save the exact versions of the dependencies so it's worth the same for everyone. Okay, now that we know the basic structure of our project, let us some interesting thing that will really help you when you start a new project. Right now, if we look at the project, we only have one screen, in this case app.js, but normally in a mobile app we have more than one screen. So we need a way to move between screens. For that, the first things we are going to set up is expo-router. Okay, open the navigator in Expo documentation, search expo-router, install. Okay, perfect. Copy the command. Okay, open the terminal. Perfect. cd the leonative-app. Paste the command. Okay, enter. Now, let's quickly talk about what each package is for. Expo-router, it's help us create navigation using file-based routing, screen our files. React-native safe area context, it's help us handle the safe area on phones. For example, the notch area on iPhones. React-native screen, it's help improve performance for navigation screens. It also helps with things like splash screen and gestures. Expo-linking, it lets you use deep links. That means your app can open from a link. or even open another app. For example, you can open maybe Airbnb or a WhatsApp chat. Expo-constants, it gives you useful information about the app and the device, like configuration values. Expo-status-bar, it helps you control the status bar, for example, top bar with time, battery, etc. Alright, once everything is installed, we need to do a few configurations so the routing works correctly. Okay, open the editor. First open package.json. Now that we are using routing, we need to change the entry point of the app. So instead of using index, in this case, this replaced with expo-router entry. Okay, perfect. Save the file and next go to app.json. Here we need to add a scheme. Before we add, it is important to understand what it is. The scheme helps your app receive information from a link. For example, WhatsApp use a scheme for link like this. In that case, WhatsApp is the scheme when an app is installed, and especially when it is published in the stores, for example, Play Store and App Store. You can use that scheme to send information to the app using a link. In our case, we will use leonative-app. Perfect. Save file. Now we are going to create some folders and files that we need. Create folder called is or C. Okay, inside a new folder called app. Perfect. And inside it create a very important file called layout. Okay, underscore layout. It's important the underscore. In this file, we are going to configure the root route where we connect all the screens of our app. Now, let's create another file called home. Okay, home, import react-native, here we will add a text and a button to go to profile. And then create another file called profile, import the native, with a text and button that goes back to home. Perfect. Now To navigate between these two screens, let's configure layout like this. Okay, import here we will use stack. Stack is used to handle navigation where screens are stacked on top of each other, and inside we create start screen. Okay, in the name we put the file name, first home, and then profile. Save file. One important thing: after you install a new package, it is a good idea to stop the thread and start again. So press Ctrl+C or Command+C in my case, and then run npx expo start. And now you can see how we can move between roads. Perfect. Another important thing we use in our project is styling. In React Native, the basic way to add styles is with the style prop. For example, on the home screen, inside the view, we can add something like style, flex, justify content. This helps us center the content. By the way, let's go to the root layout for a second and remove the header. Okay, now it looks better. So yeah, with the style props we can add styles. We can also use style sheets from React Native, but in this spread we're going to use a very popular library for styles called NativeWind. So let's go to the browser, search for NativeWind, open the documentation, and here we can see the steps to install it with Expo. Before we follow the documentation, I want to add a few extra steps. When I installed it directly, it didn't work for me, probably because of compatibility issues. Maybe they will fix it in future version, but for now, if it doesn't work for you, you can follow this step. First, go to package.json. At the end, after private, add this expo-linking. Next, create a file called mp-rc and inside add the following. And now let's continue installing the dependencies. First, run npx expo install NativeWind, react-native-reanimated, react-native-worklets. And then run npm install tailwind css 3.4.17. Better plugin 0511. Save that. Enter. It's very important in this point you put exactly number of the dependencies. Great, now we can continue with the step from the documentation. Next is the tailwind setup. Okay, copy command and run npx tailwind init. Enter. This will create a file called tailwind config. We copy the code from the documentation and pass it there. The only thing we can change is the content. In our case, we want to target the src folder and everything inside it. And the file types we care about are JavaScript and TypeScript. Now we create a file called global and pass this. After that, we need to create Babel config. For this, I use a command that helps me generate both Babel and Metro files. The command is customize. This will show a list of files we can generate. In this case, we need Babel and Metro. Select them with a space key and press enter. Then I use replace the code with the code from the documentation. Copy, paste, again copy, delete, paste. Now the documentation says we should import global CSS in add.js, but remember, our main file is not add.js anymore. Now our main file is layout.js. So that's where we import global CSS. Perfect. Step 6 is not necessary because we don't have the Expo web page. And now let's test. Okay, run npx expo-start. Go to home. Instead of using the style prop, delete and use a class name prop. Then add some tailwind class like flex, justify center. Okay, it's necessary reload the app. Perfect. For example, another class, text white. Perfect. Now we can see that everything is working and NativeWind is configured correctly.